15th. Before I ask you to rise and salute the flag, I would like us to all share a moment of silence. Over the weekend, we lost a community member, Joseph Salamito, who was a Fitchburg native, a police officer, a former city councilor, a devoted husband, father, and grandfather. And we send our condolences to him, his wife Beth, and their family. Thank you. I now ask you to rise and please join me in saluting the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We are going to begin with a special recognition of our retiring teachers. If I could turn it over to our superintendent.
Always a bittersweet time where for the retirees it's sweet and for us it's bitter because we're losing people who have contributed an incredible amount to the school district, and most of the people out there in TV land don't even know what you look like, except the people that you've worked with really closely together, the students, the parents, the grandparents, and all of those folks. So this is really a chance for us to recognize you and to give you a little token of our appreciation. It's something we started a few years ago, and each of you gets a frame with your name and the years that you worked, and we only put one picture in the frame, the picture of your school, and then we leave it for you to fill out the rest with all the memories that you have. So they're in no particular order, and I know not everyone could be here, so those who are not, we will see that they get these. But the first one I have is Barbara Dobson. Barbara? So, just so everyone knows, Barbara Dobson worked for 23 dedicated years of service, and the picture that she has is of the Longeau Middle School. Liz Lagadinos, I don't think I saw Liz. Liz is a guidance counselor at Crocker, 27 dedicated years of service. Deborah Turner, 27. This 27 is a good number. 27 dedicated years of service. So congratulations. Janice going to get a picture of you guys.
We good? Here we go.
So, 27 years of service and another year of having your photo taken. Take a long time. That's our way of trying to keep you here as long as possible. Estelle Sawyer is not here this evening. Oh, she is in the back. I looked, Paula looked. We couldn't see you hiding back there. So 28 years, and South Street is your picture. There you are. Congratulations. All right.
Couldn't see her behind the crowd.
This one, I saw you. Sue Leahy. Sue Leahy, guidance counselor at the high school. 28 years also of dedicated service. And I'm going to bring you over here so you don't have the map of the world, Microsoft on your face. So come over here. Yeah, you're both in it will be quite psychedelic, but congratulations, Sue. Marilyn Gonzalez, not here. Marilyn, 22 years of dedicated service. Christine LeBlanc, I know you're here. 26. This is like graduation. Saying 300 times, okay, now turn and look at the camera. Now turn and look at the camera. Kathy Brady, principal of Rheingold. 26 years of dedicated service. And then finally, Pauline Comtois, 22 dedicated years of service. Now, unless someone put in for retirement today, we should be good. No one here who's retiring, who hasn't received a gift yet? Okay. All right. So again, thank you so much to all of you for your work and for what you've done. So often you all retire, and the next thing I know, the following year, I go into a school and you're subbing or doing some other activity because it's not something you can stop on a dime. It takes a little while. But it was a pleasure for me to get to know you. I know the school committee here appreciates all the work that you've done, and especially the young people and their families. So congratulations to everyone.
And before you all run away, I think some of the school committee members have some
Absolutely.
words for you. So, Mr. Stevens?
I would just like to congratulate Pauline, Estelle, and Kathy. You know, those three, I'm talking because we worked together for so many years. And Estelle, I can still remember calling you at 6 o'clock in the morning, you know, to substitute before you came on regular. It goes all too fast, and you're going to really be missed by the school system. And also, Sue, chairman of the Alumni Association, I know we're going to miss you for all the work that you've done for all the students and the alumni at Fitchburg High School. So thank you, Sue.
Yeah, I looked at these names and I just thought, boy, what powerhouses. I mean, these are people that really transformed, you know. All of you sitting out here, you have transformed our schools. You have improved the lives of so many kids over so much time. And I feel like, you know, we just have this moment together, but I know that I will be seeing many of you out in the world. And as for Kathy and Christine was my son Christopher's kindergarten teacher. And she launched him in liking school and loving school. And, you know, at Rheingold, which, by the way, he still would like to turn into a high school college. So, yes, he would be very happy, and especially under the leadership of Kathy Brady. Kathy, I can't say enough about all that you've done, all that you do for kids and how kid-centered you are. And I know all the other ladies in this room, Mrs. Contois, you always have a smile. I see you having great rapport with other kids. I see Mrs. Boutwell here, and I see other Rheingold friends, and it's like, we're so lucky to have you. You know, we're really lucky to have you, and there's no way you're getting away for good. Just no way, okay? Just that's the deal, because now that you're retired, we know where to find you, and we know you have your days free. So thank you for your love of kids and for your respect of them as being able to do well. I know all of you know kids can do well.
Just one more. Christine, I apologize for missing you. We worked together too. After I had retired and I got called back to work at Rheingold, and the kindergartens had been brought from the kindergarten centers back to the elementary schools. Christine taught at Rheingold, and one of the most difficult things is all the parents wanted their children in Christine LeBlanc's room, but we couldn't put them all in there. And
We tried.
And I know that they're going to miss you greatly. Appreciate it.
Mr. Brewer?
Yeah, I have to embarrass Mrs. Turner briefly, but as a proud parent of one of your former students, and I know your influence has been felt on future teachers by the work you've done at McKay with Fitchburg State, so I hope I can still see you around campus here and there. So congratulations. And congratulations to everyone else, too. Thank you.
And I'll just say that you all look way too young to retire.
Okay.
And
Take me
And
with
then
you.
I have to disagree with the superintendent that no one knows what they look like, because when I get a market basket, people think that I get bothered. I don't, as much as teachers. Whenever I see a flock of people around somebody, I know it's a
Right.
teacher. So I have to say to
Yeah.
all of you, 8 years on the school committee, we've done a lot. I mean, I can't even imagine from a technological standpoint, communications, all the stuff that's happened in the buildings, all the changes in curriculum, teacher evaluation. I mean, it goes on and on and on. A lot has happened just in the 8 years I've been here. And all of you have really been integral. We could not have been early adopters. We could not have convinced the state that we needed the resources we needed without all of you basically showing us up, making good headlines in the paper, making our students smile every day. It has really been a pleasure and honor to serve with all of you, and you will be missed. So thank you for your service. Oh, Jean, I'm sorry. That's okay. The teacher, Jean.
That was just beautiful. I just wanted to say, as I look at that list, from kindergarten to high school, I mean, you all run the gamut, and I think our children, and I know my children, have been helped so much by your talents, and they've been in great hands all these years. So thank you so much for your commitment. It's impressive. So good luck.
Thank you, all of you.
Now, you're welcome to stay for the whole school committee meeting, but then again, you can also say, see you later, I'm going home, but thank you so much.
Did you want to do some presentations first, or should we jump
Yeah,
into-
we'll go right into
Okay,
the...
yeah, let's do that.
So the first, we try to, we started the year with student highlights and staff highlights, and we're ending the year that way. And we're inviting Miss Hubbard and Madison Gurton, but I guess Madison is ill.
You see it?
Oh,
Yay!
out of your sick bed you came. All right, so we're inviting them up to come and talk about the 2015 My Ideal School MSBA award. And Kathy Brady, maybe come up too. We just had a gigantic celebration. You can go right over there to the microphone. We had a huge celebration at Rheingold the other day, and but that wasn't televised, so we wanted to definitely bring her here and have Kathy and Mrs. Hubbard talk about the work that she's done.
Well, for the past few years, there's been the My Ideal School Contest, which is sponsored by the Massachusetts School Building Authority. And Deborah Goldberg is also a part of it, our state treasurer. And since we've been doing opinion writing in school, we have, I've entered my students in the contest for the past few years. Last year one of my students won, and this year, Madison was one of the recipients. She's a regional winner of the contest. And just to say about Madison, she is one of those students who comes into school every day with a smile on her face. And I'm sure she's not feeling very well right now, but she still has a smile on her face. And she gives 110% of herself as a student every day. She's not only an excellent student, she's an excellent friend and well-liked by everybody. So I'm very honored to have her in my classroom and to have her be, I'm not surprised she won.
There are two pieces to this particular contest. One is drawing a picture of your school. Madison did a beautiful representation of Rheingold Elementary School. And then writing the piece that Mrs. Hubbard just spoke about, which is why is Rheingold the most ideal school? Madison, would you like to tell people what you like about Rheingold the most?
Do you remember what you wrote?
Can I just say one of the sentences?
Can you just what, hon?
One of the sentences?
Sure, say one of the sentences.
I like Rheingold because all the teachers are nice.
That was a part of it. That was really an important part of it. And then there was another part of it that they pointed out, too. What was the other part of Rheingold that you liked?
She's a favorite of the food that's served in the cafeteria. Do you want to tell them what the food is? I don't think she's good. Go ahead, give it a try. She really likes the sausage.
She likes the sausage. She likes the sausage. But she received a beautiful framed
Wow.
Yes.
copy of her picture and received a citation from Representative Di Natale and Senator Flanagan. So it was a big event and a big day. And the MS, because you were not able to go to the State House when they handed out the awards, so the State House came to her. So there's a
Nice.
lesson there. And did all the presentations right in the auditorium. It was spectacular with all the students there and everything. So thank you so much. And, 2 years out of 2, so next year, next year's a charm.
Let's hope so.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
When I was principal of Rheingold, and they used to get a telephone call or somebody come in and look for me, they say, would somebody go down to the cafeteria and get Mr. Stevens?
he liked
Because
to hang
that
out.
was my favorite place to go, because I love the food also.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And the other recognition tonight, we're going to have Mrs. Terigny come up with Caden Scopoletti and talk about Fuel Up to Play 60. That's a great.
Thank you.
Yeah, wow.
We've been involved as a school with Fuel Up to Play 60 for the past 5 years. 2 years ago, myself and Mr. O'Reilly were nominated as the program advisors for the state of Massachusetts. We've stayed involved. I have a fitness club at school, and the fitness club that I work with, it's about 26 and 7th grade students, and they serve as ambassadors for the school. They help to promote healthy eating, physical activity. This year, one of my students, Caden Scopoletti, applied to become a ambassador for the state of Massachusetts, and she was chosen. And the unique thing about Caden is that when they were going to present the award, or when they were going to come through with the award, the woman who was running the competition called me and said, "Is she really a 6th grader? We're so impressed by this application, by this essay." So she called me just to verify that there wasn't a typo, that she was in the 6th grade. She's very mature. She's very responsible. And the most exciting thing is on July 22nd, Caden and I are heading to Chicago to attend a leadership summit for Fuel Up to Play 60. And she will be representing the state of Massachusetts for the entire school year next year.
Wow.
There'll be another event in Massachusetts in August. And anytime that there's a Fuel Up event, they'll be contacting Caden to attend.
Wow.
Nice. Fuel Up to Play 60 is sponsored by the NFL and the New England Dairy Council. So we are planning on wearing our Brady shirts when we attend Chicago, because it'll be held. It's going to be held at the Chicago Bears Stadium. So that's one of the sites that we'll be attending. So we're going to make sure that we're wearing our New England Patriots gear, nice and proud.
That's great.
So, yep.
Any questions or comments?
Caden, why did you choose to do this?
Well, when I did the fitness club, Mrs. Terigny was talking about it and all the fun stuff that we could do by signing up with all this Fuel Up stuff and joining the website. And there is before you could apply, there was it told you what you would do if you won, and it sounded really fun and really cool. And Mrs. Terigny wanted me to apply, so.
Do you have a particular goal, Caden, that you want to accomplish? Are you looking to increase participation at Memorial or across the state, or what do you think you might do?
I think by attending the leadership conference, it's going to give her the skills to then come back to the
Yeah.
school and help
Yeah.
to promote. I'm sure Jill will help her as well across the city, visiting schools within our own city
Oh,
that
that'd be
have
great.
Fuel Up
Yep.
programs. And then whatever the state's going to ask. But I think that leadership conference that we're attending is going to help her to build those skills.
That's great.
And when is that, Sue?
July 22nd, it's a 3-day workshop that they have in Chicago.
We have to, congratulations, Caden. I met you coming in, and I had just been reading about this accomplishment, and to be the ambassador for the state of Massachusetts, which is a very top-performing state, you've beaten out a lot of, I'm sure, extremely capable other kids. That said, so now, what are we going to do? Jill, we need to think, like, where else can she go? Where can she go? Yeah.
I'm waiting for her to get to the high school.
Yeah. No, this is great. This is your first time here, but we'll have you come back. We'll have you guys come back.
We were planning after the summit and the one that's in Massachusetts as well. The one in Massachusetts is going to be like a town talk.
Yeah.
We're going to bring in some of the heavy hitters from the state and talk about how important school breakfast is and physical activity and promoting it more within the classrooms, not just
Yes.
PE classes, but within actual classrooms. And so they're going to talk about, they're inviting us to talk about our successes here at Memorial. So
Great.
we're being invited to share our successes.
That's tremendous.
It's similar to last summer, Jean's daughter attended a leadership summit at Gillette Stadium. And this is similar, except that it's national now. So it's always good to have representatives from Fitchburg.
Sue, thank you, because your leadership in this is what drives it. I mean, that's a tremendous commitment. Thanks, because I think so many kids benefit from that, and so many more will.
Yeah.
Someone always has to take an interest on the staff to keep it going, and especially to keep it going year after year, because the students move on.
Yeah.
But the programs can stay here and other people benefit from them, so it's very good.
Thank you, Sue. You're just another one of the excellent teachers that have come before us this year that have helped our students excel this year and the previous years. So thank you, Sue.
And hopefully not retiring anytime soon.
Yes.
I was just asking my husband, I've got 28 years in.
Oh, no!
Yeah, but I'm out of frames.
But you were young when we hired you.
Yeah. Sorry.
Because it's 2 when she goes.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have to talk about that. Thanks so much. Great.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you. Thank you, Caden.
All right. So we'll mix it up a little bit, and we've got a couple of other presentations, but there's something that I have been sitting on for a month, and I just cannot sit on it any longer, and it's a good thing. As some of you know, we received a contact about a month ago, and I think it was about a week after the gala, and it was someone contacting the Fitchburg Public Schools because they wish to make a major financial contribution to our scholarship fund. Well, modestly, a substantial financial contribution would be, somewhere in, I don't know, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 would be a lot of money. Well, this contribution is for more than that. And so we've been in communication. What you have in front of you is the first draft of an agreement that I signed in your behalf with the Community Foundation, because this donation is going to go through, as you know, we've been talking a lot about the Community Foundation and the work they do because it was part of the gala. We have under their umbrella the Education Foundation. So I've invited here this evening Linda Mack and Bill White, who are going to come, and we have a visual aid that we're going to share of this donation.
Oh my goodness.
So, and if they hadn't done this, I was going to do one by hand on post-it paper. But I contacted them last week. So if you notice, the numbers are even better than the ones I told you. That this anonymous donation is to the, through the Community Foundation, to the Fitchburg Public Schools, to the Community Foundation on behalf.
To the Community Foundation.
Yep.
To establish the Fitchburg Education Foundation Scholarship Fund.
And it is for a student at Fitchburg High or Goodrich Academy who is a resident of Fitchburg. And for those of you at home who may not be able to see the number, it is $110,000. This has been
Exciting.
so exciting and so difficult for me to keep quiet because it's just so. And you know, one of the things, of course, I did tell my wife. So you know, you do have to tell some people. And she said, you know, people don't invest in a losing team; they invest in a winning team.
It's true.
And this is so appropriate for what we just did tonight with these retiring teachers, because that's the team, and it's the team of this staff. And I think we have upped our game. And the proof of that was also a visit to the high school today. This afternoon, there was our advanced placement students did a debate, phenomenal debate, on a very important book. And maybe Jeremy can get into more details. And before coming here tonight, I was up there for the Honors Academy 2019, our third cohort. 50 students who are going to be coming into the Honors Academy. So it's just really, really clear that the work of all these school committees, our work of our administration, and the work of the people out in the classrooms have upped our game and have said, you know, we're a school system worth investing in. And tonight I was convinced when I went to that Honors Academy is we're people's first choice, not their last choice. So thank you to all of you. And special thanks to our anonymous donor.
Yes, of course, of course.
You know, whoever you are.
Yeah.
So Superintendent, because the original number was 100,000, did the anonymous donor decide to
I'm going
increase
to let
it?
Linda talk about that.
Or
Linda,
how-
do you have something, did you
Well,
have something you
know,
want to read?
I was
Why don't
just
you sit
going
here?
to say that, you know, the anonymous donor clearly saw a need in Fitchburg. And when he saw that, he then stepped up to the plate. And one thing that the Community Foundation does is that we bring donors, their passions, with the need in the community. And so this is a great example of that. I think the anonymous donor realized that he could do 110,000, so why not? You know,
That's
so
amazing.
it's a very exciting thing. And of course, you know, my background is in education, so to be able to see this happen for Fitchburg is a real joy for me personally too. Our kids are our future, as you know, and this is so important that that we invest in Fitchburg because it's a great school system. We know that. And the gala, to hear about the gala and how much money you raised there was incredible.
Yeah, and
So-
I don't have the final count, but I know that since we did the final count, there's more money that kept coming in and
Yeah.
has been going, because that's a separate account also.
Yep.
You know, under the umbrella of the Community Foundation for our after-school programs.
Yep.
And, you know, I'd love to brag about our students, but again, today, we were at the Honors Academy and talking about Boys State and Girls State. We sent 32 students
Yep.
to Boys State and Girls State, and 4 or 5 of us were talking about our experiences in other high schools. They don't even know about it. No one does it.
Or they send two.
Or they send 2, right,
One
or
girl,
they
one
send
boy.
2. And here, we have staff at the high school who are taking this on, and as you know, because you get the same emails that I get, we'd like to send 2 more, you know, would anybody like to sponsor 1 more or 2 more? Well, we sent 32. So these are the kinds of things that, it's really a group, it's a collaborative effort, it's everybody working together, but I think every one of those is what's making people take notice and saying, this is a team I want to invest in. Marissa?
Just curious, I'm just reading how it will be awarded. So it will be awarded to several students, not
Yes.
one student. And the amount of students would be different every year?
It will be, first of all, this is a fund that will be invested, and it's called endowed, so the principal will never be touched. So we will distribute every year. Right now, it would be 4.5% of that, and you can do 1, 2, I think you have to do 2. I think that was in the agreement, if I remember. But if there's more students and there's enough money and the need can be, you know, met, then I think you can do more. The other thing is that in the future, if it becomes something that you want to fundraise for, you can, of course, grow the fund. if you ever want to do a fundraiser for. And then in the same way you did a fundraiser for the after-school program, you could also grow this fund so that there's more money being distributed every year for the students. Because I think this is something that people can get behind and be passionate about, as well as the after-school program. So now you've got a couple of things you can really focus on and people can give to.
And what it calls for is it calls for the appointing of a committee. So it would be very similar to what that other scholarship, Bob, that you formed a group. Yeah. So there'll be a group that'll be formed, and then that group will decide, how many scholarships and who it would go through and what the criteria and things like that. So just a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Great.
much.
Thank you. It was great to work with you.
So what you have in front of you was not the final agreement, because the numbers were changed and there were a couple of other things that were changed, but that's the agreement that has gone forward. Try to get everybody who's here. Mr. Minucci, I know you're here. We've got an action item, but maybe give you a chance to talk about the Best Buddies International Conference, and then there's an action item later on in the agenda.
Thank you. Unfortunately, no. Well, Matt, you might remember this. 2 years ago, I came in to speak to the school committee about Unified Track. And one of the things I mentioned is that Unified Track, the reason we do it is to promote inclusion, diversity, and a spirit of competitiveness. I want to do a little bragging, though. This year, Fitchburg High School was the Midwatch champion for Unified Track. We took home the gold as a team. And the student, I mean, really, if we came in last place, it's still such a worthy endeavor. But the students were really proud and excited about winning the championship. And they should be. I mean, if you look at the schools that we compete about, when I came in and spoke to the committee, there were 10 teams, and it was right after the inaugural year, which was the first year that Massachusetts had a unified track program. There's now 28 teams statewide, which is really cool. And the goal is to get it statewide, and they compete. I mean, when we look at Jeremy's old school, puts forth a very formidable team, and we beat them. Which was pretty cool. We have, when you talk about representing our school and our community well, we have schools like Algonquin, Westboro High, Oakmont, and constantly they're coming up and they're saying, you guys really do a great job, and the way that students interact with students that have intellectual disabilities at your school is very inspiring. So when I came 2 years ago, I said one of the neat things would be, not everyone participates in sports as much as we'd like folks to do so. And it's very much related because the Shriver family, Eunice Shriver, started Special Olympics, which sponsors the unified sports. They're also involved in Best Buddies. Her son, Anthony Shriver, started Best Buddies a number of years ago. And the whole mission of Best Buddies is to create and foster one-to-one friendships, employment opportunities, and leaderships for intellectually disabled individuals, but also students that have developmental and social disabilities. So we're Unified Track. We try to match a student that does not have an intellectual disability with a student that does. Best Buddies is a little bigger blanket, and first of all, it's for social, it's for friendships and for inclusion, getting students to participate in all types of extracurricular activities. So if it means going to a basketball game or participating in a play when they might not otherwise participate, or going to a dance when they might not go, this is the whole goal of Best Buddies. So I actually have personal experience because I have a son who is on the spectrum, and he was part of Best Buddies at Westford. And I'll tell you this, he's 23 years old. He still has friendships from that Best Buddies to this very day. So we wanted to do this, and Roanne was very supportive, as was Jeremy, in encouraging us at the high school get involved in this type of thing to move forward. When we first found out the initial cost, though, we were kind of blindsided because Best Buddies was looking for a check in the neighborhood of $7,000 to get a chapter, which is pretty serious money. So we didn't get out of the box right away. But one of the neat things, because we're involved in Unified Track and because of Jeremy's relationship with his previous school and with other schools, there was a grant that was done this year, and the Best Buddies people came to us and said, for $300, you can have a chapter. And that's not the only cost, and I'm here to petition you on a few other things too.
Good start, though.
Right, but I mean that's reasonable, right? $300, that's kind of a no-brainer. We need to look forward and go forward with this. So we have a Best Buddies chapter. They have some requirements, though, and that's why I'm here to speak to you today. They require that training, and I can actually understand why. I mean, they want the chapter to be successful, to get off to the right start, and to have sustainability. And the one thing that I'll say is that regardless, if they ever come to us and say they want $7,000, we'll have some type of buddies group going forward. I'm convinced of that, regardless of whether it's hopefully it's with Best Buddies, but whether it's with them or not, we'll have some type of buddies group going forward. So they have a conference. It's July 17th through 20th, and the requirement is that the student ambassador, so that's a student at Fitchburg High School, that basically is the right-hand person to the advisor, who I'm going to be the advisor. Very, very important position, responsible for really helping us to foster and grow this initiative. They require that person, along with myself, go to this training. It's July 17th through the 20th at Indiana State University in Indianapolis, Indiana. And what we learn there, what we will learn there, is skill building, leadership, chapter management, peer-to-peer relationships, and basically all the ins and outs of running a chapter for Best Buddies. So what we envision doing over the next year and going forward is having organized events every month. So we'll do things like bowling. We'll do things like going to the various games. We'll participate in, at the high school we have all types of interactive participation. So this year we did get off to a little bit of a start, in that when we had the inter-squad basketball games and the faculty basketball games, we had a very good participation from students that typically, like I said, wouldn't go to those things. So we're going to have classrooms, roundtables, large group forum, and a World Cafe. All 50 states are involved in this. There's 100 chapters here in the state of Massachusetts, and we're in good company. And I think it's a well worth endeavor. So I'm here to ask that you support myself and Angela Salazar is the student ambassador. Myself and her are going to the training on July 17th. And I'd like to come back and report next year, because I really think this is going to be a terrific program. I really do. It's a program, like I said, I have personal experience having my own children have participated in it.
This is great. And just as good as a check. This is good news as well. So
Well, thanks, Matt.
a really meaningful experience for you too, but then for the whole group. I think it's wonderful.
Thanks. Thanks, Matt.
If I could ask the mayor, could we take the action item out of order in
There's a
15,
motion to take
559?
559 out of order. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's before you.
Make a motion to.
Okay.
Motion.
Motion's been made a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, nice job.
Okay,
Thank you.
good to go.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Nice job. So while we've got the high school up at the
Andre?
table, yep.
If I
I'm sorry.
could ask a question, maybe Roanne is the, or I'm not sure. What about some of our kids in caps or flack that are Fitchburg kids, can they participate?
Well, some of our collaborative programs have similar programs.
They have similar programs?
Through some of the high schools that they're associated with. And then our FSU program that's connected through the Fitchburg State University has Falcon Friends.
Okay.
So it's a very similar program.
Pete, can I follow
Yeah.
up on that too?
Yeah.
The middle school actually is they've already found out that we have in this chapter.
Yeah.
So I've already got a couple emails from middle school folks, because there is a middle school program as well, so we'll be looking into that as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so Jeremy is coming up. He's going to talk to you about the physical education waiver at the high school. So this was intertwined in the budget work that we were looking at. One of the concerns was that as we were moving from one schedule to another schedule, it was going to increase the number of personnel. So we did some work in the budget on our end, and Jeremy did some work on his end. And one of the things was related to PE at the high school level. So he's done some research and looked at other school districts and looked at what we needed to do. And if we're able to approve this waiver, then it will allow him to make the kind of changes that he need to make to meet the needs at the high school for the coming school year.
Yeah, so I just passed around the PE waiver draft proposal. I'm trying to get up the overall credit thing, but that I can mention that as well. So basically, what we've been looking at too, in addition to what Andre has said, is that many of the schools in the state, we all have to follow Chapter 71, Section 3, which says that PE has to be taught at every grade level. But it also goes on to say that schools and school districts, which is really why, I think we need to talk about it here, or at least be aware of what we're thinking about, that schools or school districts are permitted to allow substitutions to the PE requirement for other physical activities. What we have seen a lot of, thank you, in the last few years is waivers happen as it is already, and we really just want to put more of a specific protocol to the process so that we know that students are taking part in some kind of physical activity, which is very important. We just heard from the student from Memorial in 6th grade there. But this is pretty common. We did a little bit of research in the Midland-Wachusett League. There are actually some schools in that, and that's the largest league in the state, actually. It's 28 high schools. We're a part of that. It's a great way for us to just gather some information. So I asked the principals to do a quick survey, and most of them responded. I think it was 20. And most do require PE every year, but not all, interestingly enough. But the majority definitely do allow for waivers. And these are the common ones that come up most frequently. Marching band, which is a tremendously time-intensive commitment and a scheduling. It's a little bit tricky in terms of scheduling it for students. So we've looked at around, and it makes sense for students that would be able to, up to 2 years of waiving the PE process, they could attribute it to marching band. Seasonal athletics would also be one, meaning a student participates in an MIAA, interscholastic sport, one of the various seasons, of which we have 3, as you know, and so they would be able to waive 1 year of the PE requirement based on a seasonal athletic. And then others would just be this is what a lot of schools also we found were doing, was an approved individual physical activity that is considered to be intensive. So you have the kid who goes to dance every day after school. We have students who are going to swimming every day after school. There's other ones who are very involved in martial arts or equestrianism or some other things like that. So we would just have a process, again, for fielding that information and allowing the option of them waiving 1 year of the PE for that type of thing. So I wanted you to be aware of it. With respect to the schedule, we are making some moves around, in terms of staffing, because we do need to ensure that we have an additional science teacher in some other areas. So this would certainly alleviate a little bit of stress there, but I think we'd be looking to do this regardless. With the strong caveat that anyone who wants to take PE every year absolutely can. And I was one of those people. I mean, if I could have taken PE 7 periods a day, I think I would have done it. So, I think that certainly goes without saying. But we are, as I said, seeing a lot of kids who, for scheduling purposes and otherwise, are looking to do some different things for their own academic goals and their own academic pursuits. And I think this just allows this, but it tightens up a lot of what's kind of already going on, so to speak. So any questions, please, and I'll get this other quick thing up as well.
Do you have to declare, is it semester-based now, the gym classes?
PEs are going to be semester-based, exactly.
So if you play in the spring, but you want to drop something in the fall, can you do that?
Yeah, potentially. So what we would look to do is try to do it in the scheduling process. So a sophomore entering junior year, work through a lot of this with their guidance counselor, and then talk about, well, I'm going to be doing, cross country or whatever it might be. So this is the area I also want to do, AP, calculus, and double up on my sciences. So can I do yeah, absolutely. So that's the sort of vision that we have for it. So that student who, again, marching band is one. It takes up a full period essentially all year because it segues into concert band. Really. And so, again, that student might be taking, they want to do their foreign language and their science and social studies. Their schedule's done. So this, again, allows them to say to the guidance counselor, I want to use my marching band experience that I'm going to do as a junior as my PE waiver, so then it just alleviates a little bit of stress on their schedule. Does that answer your question?
Well, I guess I'm wondering if it has to have been an activity you've already done that you can document that you did it.
Sure.
As opposed to I'm going to do it.
Right. We can definitely be flexible because, as you said, the PE is scheduled on the semester.
Okay.
So there's plenty of kids, well, half essentially, will get scheduled during the spring semester. And so it could come up at that point, too.
Yeah,
There's no question about it.
How is it going to be tracked?
We would track it in the X2 system. So essentially, when the guidance counselor works with the student, they would just make the note. And what it is with X2, there's basically two things for graduating high school, and I'll get to the other one in a second. There's total credits, but then there's distribution requirements. So right now in our block, we require 28 credits, though we're going to have to move down from that a little bit because we're moving from 8 to 7 periods. But in terms of what we have in our system is the student gets recorded for, say, an English class, and that's 1 credit, but they also get the check for one of your 4 Englishes done. So what the guidance council would do is just do the check for the distribution requirement. They wouldn't get credit necessarily because they need to take other classes, but they would at least have that requirement out of the way so they don't have to worry about trying to fit it in when their schedule's already really tight to begin with. Does that make sense?
How are you going to track them after doing the activities if they come and say, I'm doing this activity after school?
Yeah, that's the last one there. We would have to get a record from the organization.
Okay.
So if they're taking part in a dojo, for example, we would need information from them and a sign-off of some form. Yeah, we'll have a template that's created, and they'll have to do that multiple times over the course of that semester. Because you're right, that could be a loophole, no question, definitely.
Do other districts do this, and how do they do this? And this is really great, I think, that we're doing this, because it does encourage kids to be active outside.
Yeah. I can share the results of the survey for sure, but basically just like this. They either do, many of them do the first 2 or some combination of all 3. 11 of the 9 absolutely do allow for, of the 20 respondents, 11 of them said, yes, we have a formal waiver process, and a number of them sent them to me. So I took some of that and then talked amongst our own, folks at Fitchburg High, and we basically came up with a pretty just straightforward 1-pager. but for the most part, it's kind of as you see it. And our idea was not to waive a student completely. You know, you should at least take two of the PEs, one of those being health, because there's a lot of curriculum content in health that's important, that is sort of outside of what you might do on an athletic team or in marching band or something along those lines. But more or less, it's the other schools are doing it in a similar manner, which is what the state has basically put out there, you know, for schools to be able to do in terms of just creating flexibility for student schedules.
I just think back that young woman who had as a cyclist a couple of years ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect
She was certainly
example.
engaging in high-impact physical activity. I mean, I think she finished third in a race where it was students from Penn State and
Yes.
Boston
Yeah.
College and Harvard and places like that. So that would definitely be one of the approved physical activities, I think. I do want to quickly run through this piece, too, because it's related in terms of just the schedule and some of the things that we're looking at. So Fitchburg High, as you know, is moving to the 7-drop-2 schedule, which is the images there. We'll have 5 periods a day, and 2 will drop and carry over to the next day, and so on over a 7-day cycle. So as a result, the block essentially creates the opportunity for students to earn 32 credits over the course of the 4 years, because it's a lot of semester courses or 2-credit courses or whatever. So in this schedule, which is pretty typical of most high schools, the student capacity for earning credits is 28. So right now, if we were to have a 28 credit graduation requirement, the student would have absolutely zero wiggle room, which every high school under the sun has the total amount possible and then the graduation requirement, which is usually 3 or 4 or 5 credits. I mean, just based on the single credit model, which we do. So our goal is to move back to the 24, which again would be very logical and in line with the other expectations of schools that Mr. Minucci mentioned or others in our mid-watch. So we would step it down, sort of starting with the class of 2016 as 27 credits, because essentially their earning potential would be 31, and then the class of 27 would be 26 because theirs would be 30. And then 2018 would be 25 because the most they could earn potentially is 29. And then starting with the incoming freshman class, the actual earning requirement would be 24 credits, and then the distribution requirements would be listed there. So there's certain ones of those that are state regulations, like English is a requirement every year. But that's basically what we would establish. It does allow for the math score completion, so it's perfectly aligned with that. And again, it's very comparable with what other high schools with a 7-period day would do. But I wanted you to, obviously the school committee needs to be aware of these things too. And again, certainly glad to answer any questions or comments that you might have.
Well, I have to say that as a student, and especially one who takes a lot of AP classes and will probably be taking a lot of them next year with the 7-block schedule, being able to not have to worry about my graduation requirements as much and being able to challenge myself and still do what I love, which is running, it would be a huge weight off of my shoulders, because that would just feel so good to not have to worry about it. And then I can take classes like anatomy, I can take creative writing, and at the end of the day, I can still go to my team. So,
Lizzie, how do we make, if you say running, you're talking running on your own. How does she get credit if she's not with
yeah, I'm on the cross country
She's
team.
on the track program,
Yeah, I'm on the
cross country.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, yeah.
Can you go back to the 2016
Yeah.
credit? I keep coming up with 25, and it says 27. Came up with when I add those up.
Yeah, because right now they've had 3 years of earning potentially 8 credits a year, up to 24 so far through their junior year. Next year it's 7, so the most they could potentially earn is 31. So again, the ratio to set them appropriately would to move them from 28 credit requirement to 27. Does that make sense? Yeah, it's like basically a 3-year carry down essentially in terms of the total number. because again, it's going to be for the students. It allows for a little bit of the opportunity, there are students who struggle here and there, and ultimately the student retention is by the Department of Ed is also set at like 1 or 2 credits less than what the potential earned amount would be for a high school year. So if it's a freshman year and you're a school where you have 7 credit requirement, the retention rate is probably going to be set at 6 or 5.5 credits earned. So the graduation requirement is just moving it to what's appropriate and comparable to any other school that has the 7. And again, we just have to work through, because like Lizzie and Sabrina's classes have had 3 years of the 8 credit block, and now they'll have 1 year of the 7 credit schedule. So instead of the 32 maximum, it's 31. So it makes sense to adjust that class by 1 credit in terms of the overall requirement.
Any problems with students transferring in and fitting their credits in?
Not really, because for the most part, when they transfer in, the block, there's still quite a few schools that have it, but it's not the majority. So the transfer over works very, very appropriately to this adjustment here for sure. But that's a valuable question, because we do have a lot of kids that transfer in.
We had problems with kids transferring in. We had social studies and then fitting it into history so that they.
Yep.
That.
Yeah, the sequencing does come up. When they come from out of state or other places, the sequence can be thrown off by students, which again creates sort of it can be a scheduling challenge. When you schedule a whole grade around a set of subjects, and then a student comes in from Texas maybe, and I'm just picking on Texas, it doesn't mean it, but and their biology is out of sequence with when we do it, it sort of just creates a challenge in terms of finding them the appropriate courses and not replicating what they've already experienced.
Jeremy, do you have a lot of half-year science and history electives?
Well, the move to this schedule moves us away from the semester classes in our academics, and that was a real problem for us, especially for PARCC assessments, for APs, where there would be half-year things, and even other classes that students just need a greater amount of time to enrich the content and the skills. So this schedule will move pretty much all academics to full year. And I say academics, meaning English, math, social studies, science, and foreign language, full year courses. There will be some electives within each one of those departments, and some of those could be semesterized. But for the most part, those departments will be pretty much year-long classes across the board.
Well, could you go to your 2019 list of credits? So that list there is maybe somebody doesn't pass a half a year of a course?
Yeah, well, what that could also mean is, like, for example, one that we would do as a semester is American government. And that's one that we strongly encourage, if not flat out require, every senior to take. But we'll maintain that one as a semester, because in the meetings we've had with that department, they really felt like, no, you know what, this one is appropriate to be maintained as a semester class. So that would basically work out as the 0.5 for that student. Again, what we wanted to make sure too that was we were in line with the Mass Corps sort of stamp of approval for our school and students. So what this sort of thing does is that's a minimum requirement. But we have many students who are doubling up, and the most common area is science. And then probably social studies after that, because we do have a nice menu of electives too. But there's plenty of students that, this is that minimum kind of requirement piece. Most students will be well above and beyond it. But if you don't set it appropriately, it makes it very difficult for a good, strong amount of students to be able to meet the expectations.
Thank you, Jeremy. We've been talking about this for a while, but given that it's related to credits and changing it's one of the things that you actually have to be informed of and you have to vote on. So there's an action item, on the agenda too. So thank you. Thanks a lot. All right, thanks.
All right.
I've seen a lot of you today.
I'd like to skip back to the student report, and then we'll get back to Jill, and then we'll move on.
Yep.
So, take it away.
Okay, so today we started reviewing for finals, and up at the high school, and we have finals tomorrow. Tomorrow's Tuesday. Yes, tomorrow and Wednesday. Yeah. Then the class officers have also been decided. So there was voting all of last week so that we could get that in before people went off to boys and girls state. So all 3 of the grades that we have at the high school have decided. I think Matt Vidagliaca is president. Whitney Bailey is vice president. All right. Secretary is Zach Hivernin, Sabrina's brother. Then treasurer is Katie Pollock, and the historians are Keanu Boothrath and Alyssa Gamble. Those are the seniors. Don't have the other grades memorized, but I think everybody's really excited for that. And then prom also, we've decided a location and a date. It's going to be at the Doubletree on April 30th, so it's a little bit early, but it's still a Saturday prom, which we enjoy. And then just to kind of, I don't know, tell you what the atmosphere is like. I think people either don't know what to do because, oh my God, we're going to be seniors, or people are just really excited because finals are coming up, and yes, it's really tired preparing for those, but once that's done, it's summer. I mean, it doesn't feel like it, but it's summer.
So, and also, the juniors are getting all the senior privileges, so we're able to sit outside, which is awesome. And we have like the front parking area for the student parking lot, which is great. I've been looking forward to that for 3 years now. Oh, okay. So. Also, I think this was mentioned earlier, but the students who are representing Fitchburg High at Boys and Girls State left on Saturday, and I've heard that they're having a lot of fun there. And also this morning, we had the underclassmen awards breakfast, and that was really great. I love seeing like an array of students being awarded for what they're good at. So I think that's it.
It's a breakfast?
Yeah, so it's an underclassmen's award breakfast where the freshmen, sophomore, and juniors, they're awarded maybe like, I don't know how to...
Yeah, they have a lot of different awards from all the different departments. So you could have the various academic levels for a biology award. You could have awards that have scholarships attached to them or potential scholarships. You could have a gym award, a Microsoft Office award. Mm-hmm. So you definitely get, as Sabrina was mentioning, a lot of different kinds of students, which is kind of what I enjoy about it, because you get to see people from the AP classes sitting with people from the CP classes, which sadly is rare just because they're in different friend groups and you don't get to interact with each other a lot. Mm-hmm. So,
well, could I ask you, because what I'm intrigued about is people are eating while you're giving out awards?
Yeah. There's banana nut muffins. Oh my God.
And also, yeah.
Good to me.
And can I ask this? How do you find student attention at those events? This has been an issue for me all along in some of the events that I've gone through middle school, but do you find like people are listening and respectful? And I mean, I guess it's probably putting you on the spot. You probably can't say no.
No, yeah, definitely.
Elizabeth would say no.
I'd be honest.
How does that work? Because I just think, wow, it must be kind of distracting, but it sounds like it's not.
No, it's not. I think that the high school, I don't know, maybe if it's just a maturity thing with, you go through a lot of changes in middle school and you've got friend issues, so it's very easy to get distracted, and yes, you do have those in high school as well. But I think that it's such a special moment for so many kids that it's hard not to pay attention to people when they're smiling up there. Mm-hmm. So I've always seen people being really respectful and nice to other students. I don't know where you would have gotten that assumption, but...
Well, I can tell you, in other school systems, people have stopped doing awards with the general student assembly because it's because people haven't always taken it really seriously. So, which is a sad comment, I think. But I was just that's great.
At Fitchburg High, like we take it very seriously, and everybody is paying attention, and also like families and parents were there, and they're all taking pictures of their students, and everybody was clapping for each other. So it's a really wonderful moment. And the expectations is high, so everybody is paying attention.
That's great.
I think, it's really great for the people at home to hear this conversation because they're hearing what we see every day. Paul and I, we go into these schools every day. This is what we see. Today at that debate, it was so incredible to see a group of kids so excited about debating one another over this big issue, and it was supposed to only be one debate. And they were so pumped about it, they said, well, what about the teams that didn't get to debate today? Can we stay and do another debate? And that's the norm. So anyone who is interested in what's going on in the Fitchburg schools, come on in and see what's happening, because this is what's happening. And it's just so exciting, and so that the level of respect that we see on a regular basis of students for one another and the work that they do is unparalleled in a lot of other school districts.
Yeah.
And attesting to that, I am not a part of AP US History, but I do sit with the students from that class a lot of the time at lunch, and the entire time they're debating history and they're talking about history, and they're so excited and passionate about it, and I love it, even though history isn't really my thing, and they allow me to join the conversation, so it's really cool to see how passionate students are at Fitchburg High, even when they're not required to do an assignment. We're just excited to learn in general.
Great to hear.
This being the last school committee meeting of the year, I do want the folks at home and the people in attendance just to hear me and Sabrina as students say that everybody in the Fitchburg community should be proud of every single one of their schools, because getting the opportunity for the past couple of years to come here and speak to you, I think it's pushed us to look harder for all of the things that the students have been doing, and it has been absolutely amazing. And it has been an honor to be able to witness other people's successes. So whether or not you have a child in the school system, whether or not you're involved in it, you're a part of Fitchburg, and you need to be proud of what your students are doing, because it is amazing.
Wow, nice.
Here, here.
I think that also, sometime we've got a plan, Mr. Roach, that there's a reason why we do a rotation, and then we're going to be looking now for your replacements, sad as that is to say. But we've got a 2-year rotation now that we've put into place so that students get to overlap and you get to kind of work with the students. So we'll get that in place so that you're able to train them, and I'm sure you will, in the way of the world as you come to be a student rep for the school committee. So thanks a lot. Thanks very much.
And good luck on finals.
Yes.
Study.
Yeah.
Jill, do you want to follow that?
I didn't see a food mentioned.
Oh, banana muffins. I heard banana muffins mentioned.
What else did you have? You're gonna say fresh fruit, I know, right? Uh-oh. Gonna have to look at that menu.
Could I just ask you as you're walking out, I'm sorry, still asking you a question, but do you guys have a policy of exemptions from finals?
Sometimes teachers will give finals early, whether it's because of AP classes, because of people going to Boy and Girls
Right,
State.
right.
I don't think there are
Okay.
many
It's
students
not like a
that
widespread thing.
would have
And-
individual.
No, I'm pretty sure that you have to have a final grade with the grading system. I'm not sure though. I'm not a part of that. But for AP classes, because we already took an AP test,
Right.
which is hours long,
Right.
some of my classes will have projects, and that will count as our final grade, which is great. For my bio class, we had a junior project where we did a lab together and we made a video for it, and that counted towards our final grade. And other projects too, so it's more hands-on because it's the end of the year and we can't really we already took the AP
Right,
test,
the big
so
test.
that's the only thing I can really think of.
All right, thanks for that. Done a great job.
Thank
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Hi.
How's everybody?
Good.
Very well.
Good. As this is the last school committee meeting of the summer of the school year, so I was asked to come and talk about CEP. As you know, this was our first year doing community eligibility provision. which, just to give a refresher on what that is, it is a program that USDA developed for high-needs districts that allows us to provide breakfast and lunch to all students free of charge. It's a great program. I'm really thrilled that we were able to participate in. I totally believe that all of the students across the whole country should get breakfast and lunch free of charge. It's our future. We should be taking care of them. However, they don't ask for my opinion on those decisions. But it really has been an exciting year, and to see the participation increases that we've had. And, you know, just for my staff alone, some of the things, just not having to deal with charging has been just a big weight off everybody's shoulders, because nobody wants to be telling that kid, you know, you owe money, you need to pay up. So, and I know, talking with other directors throughout the state, everybody still has that issue. So I did pass out a couple of graphs, and these were for Bob, but they're nice and colorful. And I think when you look at them, it gives you a really quick vision of what's happened with the CEP. If you look at breakfast, this is actually the percentage change from last year to this year, and it's really quite striking the month of February. I don't know if anybody else has noticed that on breakfast, that little negative, actually not very little, but February, obviously a really big drop. And the main reason for that at breakfast is because we had 2 delays. And when we do delayed start, we don't do breakfast. So, although the high school does do breakfast on delayed starts. So lunch is another one that very obvious where the increases are. As we anticipated, the high school was the big winner. They had the lowest participation to begin with, so they had the most room for growth. Again, February, a little bit of a dip, and most of that is due to weather. So just kind of looking at that quickly, to me it really is a visual. I also just have a couple of really quick, interesting facts. We serve 3,839 meals, so 3,839 meals at lunchtime every day, and that's up 351 from last year. That's per day. So I have 351 more students eating every day. For breakfast, we serve 1,919, which is up 121 meals from last year. Breakfast still continues to be a challenge for us, mainly because it's not part of the school day. So I have to try to figure out how we're going to serve breakfast before the actual school day starts and the students are already in the building. So on any given day, 84% of our students eat lunch with us. And on any given day, 42% of our students eat breakfast with us. I'm extremely proud about that participation. If you know what's going on in the rest of the country, those are high numbers. We have some schools that are in the high 90s in participation. So, I mean, I would love to see 100%, but that's pretty unrealistic. So, again, you can see clearly that we have increased. It's about what I expected to see happen. This year, the way that community eligibility works is everybody gets breakfast and lunch free of charge, but our reimbursement isn't at 100% free rate. So this year we started the year at 89% at free reimbursement and 11% at paid reimbursement. And the difference is quite substantial. Free reimbursement is $3.28 and paid is 28 cents. So there's a big difference in that. I am thrilled to tell you that next year we have increased our numbers enough with direct certification that we'll be at 100% free reimbursement for all of the meals that we serve, which is just outstanding. I mean, even the state is surprised we were able to increase that much.
We're
But
going to
we've
continue
worked
the
hard.
same program next year.
We are absolutely continuing the same program next
And
year.
So actually, I mean, you served 3839 this year
Mhm.
for lunch, and we have 5,200 students.
Well, the issue with that is our enrollment can be a little bit different than the actual district, because our enrollment is based on who's enrolled at each building. It doesn't count any
Okay,
outside.
that's not kindergarten. Yes.
Well, kindergarten actually, if they're in the enrollment at the school, because we draw directly from X2, that's where we get our enrollment from. The unfortunate thing is kindergartens, although they're able to eat, most of them don't participate. We do have several schools that are now serving breakfast to the kindergarten kids, but for whatever reason, a lot of them do not choose to have lunch. Although we have had conversations with parents saying, I thought it was no charge for everybody. Can my child get a lunch? And what? Sure, come on through. So
I'm optimistic you'll improve it next year,
I,
too.
I don't really expect to see much increase unless we, our focus next year is really going to be talking to students and trying to see what they want that we can actually give them and still move forward to more nutritious food. It's not going to change anything the student sees. It's just going to change the money, which will help us to then increase the fruits and vegetables and the scratch items and things like that. So I don't think we'll see a huge increase next year. You can't go much further when you're already high. So that's part of the issue. But anybody have any questions?
My memory again. How is this being funded?
It's funded through the USDA, which is who funds the school lunch and breakfast program, which is actually a grant program. It just doesn't work the same way as every other grant. So it's basically for every meal that we serve, we get a reimbursement from the USDA. So this is a movement they've had. It's been going across the country for the last 4 years. This year was the first year that Mass allowed all the districts that qualified to participate. I believe there was it 11, Bob? Do you remember when we were at the?
Yes, about that.
There was only 11 districts in the state that actually did it for the first year. The really good thing is it's a 4-year commitment on the state's part, not necessarily on our part. And the way it's set up is that if you increase your numbers, you can increase the rates. So we actually started doing a 90-10 like 3/4 of the way through the school year. They increased our percentages. Because we have done such a good job with getting the direct certified numbers in and matching all the students that we were able to, we will actually start the 4-year cycle again, which is, that was something I learned during the school year. So that's great. I mean, we're not going to be able to go any higher than 100% because they don't do any more than 100. But that means, so starting this school year, it will be another 4 years that will be reimbursed at 100%. So I think that pretty much guarantees the program for the next 4 years, which, by then maybe they'll see the light. I don't know. And everybody will be no charge.
The students who don't participate, do we know why? Do we know why they don't, and what are they doing instead?
Yeah, it's a multitude of reasons. I mean, it really depends on what level you're at. Sometimes at the high school, I mean, it can be as simple as there's not a seat left in the cafeteria. I mean, this coming school year, we really want to be able to focus on the students and sit down and have conversations. We started a couple focus groups this past year and got some really good feedback from it. Unfortunately, most of the kids that want to do those kind of things are the kids that do everything. So it's really hard to get time for it. So, elementary, it can be the kids just don't like, they're picky. Middle school, you start to get into, I don't want to be eating that stuff. Peer pressure has a lot to do with it. Yeah. Lots and lots of different reasons.
I've been volunteering at Rheingold in my daughter's kindergarten for the past, I don't know how many months. And I can tell you firsthand, kindergarten breakfast, they're wild to see each other. It doesn't occur to them that the breakfast, they would rather socialize. They're just, getting them to focus in. And every little child that I've seen eat breakfast, they're so happy to be at school. So they're delighted to be there, and it's no reflection on the breakfast. It's just where they're at.
No, and breakfast is a really tough meal to do. It really is. Elementary kids, the time that they come into our buildings, for those of us who have had elementary kids, they eat when their feet hit the floor. They don't want to wait 2 hours to eat breakfast. They're hungry when they get out of bed. And middle and high school kids aren't hungry when they get to school. So it becomes a challenge, when do you feed them? So, we are looking at some different models, and, hopefully we'll get there.
Just one other question.
Sure.
Like a lot of the grants that are being changed, are we guaranteed for the next 4 years? And if it does dry up, then what will happen?
Well, I'd like to say, yes, we're absolutely guaranteed, but it is a government program, so I don't think I would say that. School lunch has been around since 1947. From time to time, they will decrease the reimbursements, but they've never stopped. I think there's enough of a push now, and there's enough of a connection between nutrition and achievement that there would be a lot of issues that would arise if they try to do anything. It's a 5-year grant, so we are up for reappropriation this year, and there's a lot of much more intelligent people than me working on that, and we'll see once that's done. The last time they did it was when the Healthy Hunger Free School, free student came out in all these new regulations. I don't anticipate we're going to get a lot more new regulations, but one of the things they are looking at is taking away the reduced category, because what they've seen is more kids have moved into the free, and there's a much bigger gap between free and paid students, and that reduced category is extremely small now. So I think that would maybe be the first step in giving lunch and breakfast free to all. So.
Do you remember what our percentage was of free and reduced eligible?
It was 77%. I think that's been one of the challenges too, is the phone calls.
Yeah.
Can you give me the information on what the free and reduced numbers are? And we're like, yeah. But interestingly, when I just applied for the fresh fruit and vegetable grant, and there's a question on there, what's your free and reduced numbers? And I'm like, so I called the state and I'm like, okay, you don't have free and reduced numbers anymore. And they said, well, whatever your enrollment is your free.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
maybe Rheingold will actually get it this year. Who knows? But so I think you're going to see that movement, that the numbers are going to become, the community eligibility, either the percentage or the total enrollment is going to become the new free. So, any other questions?
Congratulations, Jill. Great job.
Thank you.
I was interested, and
Good things for the kids.
Yeah.
That's all.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we are going to move back to the school committee reports, starting with the chair report. We're expected to get a final vote on the city council budget on Wednesday. I think some of you have received, or hopefully all of you have received, the superintendent's correspondence to myself requesting another $200,000 additional for the fiscal year 16 budget. So I would like to recommend that the school committee officially make that vote. So if we could add a vote to the action items to approve the superintendent's recommendation that the school committee request an additional $200,000 allocation from the city towards the fiscal year 16 budget, just to get a read on where the school committee stands.
So moved. That's great news.
Second.
Okay, this is to add it to the agenda, so there's
Yep.
a move.
This
and a
is
second.
added to the agenda.
Add it to the
Okay.
agenda.
All right.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? And this would be, again, just to make sure we have funding for kindergarten and custodial services. So it's now on the agenda item. Would any of you like to vote on it?
Make a motion, then we accept that action item.
I second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion is sent to me. Thank you. Okay, moving on to the resource committee.
Nothing at this time.
Or see previous report.
A previous report, right?
Policy committee.
Nothing to report?
Student support.
All set for the year. See our last report, which I think Matt is working on the final minutes.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Almost done.
And the school personnel committee, we actually have an executive session. I'm going to have us have it after we talk about the superintendent's evaluation, if that's okay. Nothing to report for the executive committee. Our student report is already done. So approval of the meeting minutes from June 1st.
Make the motion, we approve them.
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Let's move on to the superintendent evaluation.
Oh, did we do communications aside from that?
I guess it's under communications, so we're in communications.
Okay, two quickies first before we move on to the superintendent's report. We had an amazing DPW day, just phenomenal, nearly 500 people to the best of our estimation. We had such a great representation from Fitchburg schools. We will have the winners of the art show and all art show participants in a reception at the Fitchburg Library on Monday, June 22nd at 1 p.m. in the youth library. So that will be a reception for the winners. All of the kids' artwork that was brought in that day or earlier will be up on the walls. On July 18th, there will be a unique event. Parks and Rec, of course, works with area agencies to do fun in Fitchburg events in our parks. We have added a new event Saturday, July 18th, that is Art in the Park. We are actively looking for artists to help us. We are doing noon to 3 at Gateway Park, which is 19 Sheldon Street in Fitchburg. Riverfront Children's Theater, which is a co-sponsor, is going to do an improv from noon to 1 o'clock. And then we're looking for artists to help mentor other artists, young and old, from 1 o'clock to 3. People will be coming to draw the gardens. We will have supplies. We will have art supplies. And we also have frames, so people can frame their work right there. People should call me at 978-320-1335 if you would like to participate as an art mentor. So this will be very heavily focused on Fitchburg. I just talked to Sabrina and Lisa, and Sabrina lives not far by. So it's nice that we've got lots of kids who live in that area and can come down. After Civic Days and the block party, which will be on July 3rd from 3 to 8 o'clock, just all over downtown Fitchburg, things get a little bit quiet in Fitchburg, so we wanted to have some good things, and we have so many great kids events. I hope there's a time for Paula Giaquinto to maybe talk about the camps. I know that we're pretty full up with enrollment, and it's been very, very popular, and then Monster Math starts next week as well.
Tomorrow night.
Right, this week as well. My daughter literally jumped and then came down 5 minutes later. She was so happy about Monster Math. It'll be her 4th year. So, any other?
Yes, before we move on to the evaluation, if we could just take a moment. Joe Salamito, a 2-term city councilor and husband of one of our teachers, passed away suddenly on Saturday. If we can just take a moment, I would appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Marisa, for bringing that up. We did take a moment of silence at the beginning of the school committee as well, but it is definitely worth taking a second. Other communications, last week we had a great celebration at the Art Museum. The Fitchburg Cultural Council is the #1 cultural council in the state of the 327 cultural councils that exist.
Yep.
It's judged by an independent panel. And it is based on not just the work of distributing what I consider to be a very meager amount of money, $20-something thousand, but really the extraordinary extracurricular events that the Cultural Commission has decided to do. I think Beth might know this personally, given that Jim is now the chair, right? The incoming chair. But they've done just a fantastic job holding grant seminars, community events, and partnering with businesses like Walgreens to turn some of their storefronts into space for local artists. And as you know, Walgreens has decided to take that initiative, which I think costs about $500, to a national level. So they're going to do 2 storefronts in New York and 1 in Florida, and I think elsewhere. So it's great that ideas are being incubated in art in Fitchburg, and they're being spread across the country.
I think that's the most exciting part, is that they've taken it from something that's local and then gone,
To other parts of the country. I think that's really exciting.
Well, I think it also speaks to the representatives from the state said some cultural committees have a hard time even just organizing meetings to get together to distribute funds that they have, and the fact that the committee has been able to get together and do extraordinary things is very thematic of what Lizzie and Sabrina said about the students at the school.
Right.
So I think there's a reflection on the entire community that we do come together and we do do extraordinary things with very little.
And one more announcement. The Fitchburg Civic Forum will have, I don't know if it's the 5th or 6th, Civic Engagement Seminar at 10 o'clock at Cleghorn Neighborhood Center this coming Saturday, June 20th. That will be 10 to 11:30. There will be childcare and refreshments. If you've ever been curious about serving on a board or commission or even running for office, we will have all kinds of handouts and talk to folks about what the boards and commissions are. I think it goes from the Airport Board to Zoning Board of Appeals. So it's very much an A to Z, and also we'll have samples of nomination papers. Those of us who are up for re-election, and other folks will be talking about that process of election, because this is how we make a great city. We have people feel comfortable running and speaking up and speaking on behalf of the city. So join us at Cleghorn Neighborhood Center on June 20th, Saturday, 10 to 11:30, and then go over to Sima Park for the Kesayula, the summer festival.
And then come to downtown Fitchburg, where they have the Fitchburg Rides event, which
Yes.
I think is happening in the 2nd or 3rd year. So lots of events for kids in downtown on Saturday.
There are, and I think now we're at the Superintendent's Summative Evaluation. So I've been reminding all of you to get me your responses. And what I ended up doing was cut and pasting and basically constructing a text document. So next year I think it'll be a little simpler. We can compare that to what the state recommends and then just have people fill out a document. I've gone over this. We have the 4 standards. So this for the viewing public. We work for the kids. The teachers teach the kids. The principals work with the teachers. The directors and administrators work with the teachers, the principals, and it's all kind of a big circle. So this is our role to evaluate our superintendent. Standard 1 is instructional leadership, and there were a number of standards. I also went through and kind of got some overall comments and tried to put this together. So you'll be able to see everyone's comments in the packages that you have. Overall comments, and this, again, this is not just for this category, but really for everything. Continues to represent Fitchburg Public Schools well to the community, displays passion and professionalism. The superintendent has created a cohesive cabinet team that continues to attract top talent and wants to continue our steady march of progress for inclusive education and high academic achievement, has a creative approach to leadership and instills trust, deals with issues quickly. That was something I saw in a few people's evaluations. Another overall comment was Superintendent Ravenel continues to strive for a comprehensive educational experience for students in Fitchburg Public Schools. It is to his team's credit that diverse programming has been maintained and expanded in the district despite considerable financial challenges. In the year ahead, I hope he will continue to explore supplemental fiscal resources and programmatic efficiencies that could help contain expanding costs in areas like special education. He should also continue efforts to ensure that effective practices in one building are replicated in others. The superintendent has shown exceptional leadership in curriculum management and personnel decisions. He has kept the school committee very well informed on all matter of Fitchburg Public Schools. So because we've all looked at this, I think, more than once, so the instructional leadership, the categories are standards-based unit design, lesson development support, instructional practices, quality of effort and work, and diverse learners' needs. A few sort of highlights from there. Lesson development support, definitely there for math and ELA. Other areas in need. And again, we are, I think, and this is, again, an observation, but the state imposes just so much in the way of regulatory, apparatus on the superintendent and everyone who works in the schools that it's enough to keep forward with the ELA and the math. And I think again, when there's a requirement for art and music classes for graduation, then it'll be a very different scenario. So another comment for diverse learners' needs. A few people wrote about that. Here's a comment. So many programs exist to help struggling learners as well as advanced learners. A rich curriculum is maintained for all to experience success. I've certainly observed that. Any comments or anything to add for that?
Well, there's a lot of great innovative practices. I think that School Within a School was a tremendous development. I think the twin pursuits of, really making sure kids who are mastering content aren't just kind of languishing there with all the advanced kind of initiatives that you guys have put in place, but then also making sure that the students who are struggling have safety nets as well and systems that are working for them. That's really innovative and impressive, I think, on that level.
Yeah, another comment was, no other district works to track down families who vanish or who suddenly reappear months later. We are teaching others in the state how to teach diverse learners, and we certainly have seen in our school committee over the past year and years that we have had people come forward who, people in our schools who have been doing that, have been sharing. Megan Normandin, who was highlighted in the Insights to Mass Insight Education. She's someone, we have so many people who stand representing us outside of this area, and I think that makes for a lot of vitality. Anything more, and then we'll move on to management and operations.
I'd just add that it does seem like the coaching model is really successful, and obviously there are plans to continue that, but that seems to be really getting a lot of results in the schools.
This category, we had there were two mentions of items not observed, and
are you on management?
No, I have moved on. I'm about to. Sorry, that's okay. We had 46. The final tally was 46 points towards proficiency and 54 towards exemplary. So the total score for that category would be exemplary. Moving on to Standard 2, management and operations. So this is the category which is promoting the learning and growth of all students and the success of all staff by ensuring a safe, efficient, and effective learning environment, using resources to implement appropriate curriculum, staffing, and scheduling. So the categories here being the environment, human resources management, scheduling and management information systems, laws, ethics and policies, and fiscal systems. These are a huge queries. And I think, Beth, thank you for filling this out. I know you haven't been on school committee for, a very long time, but you can see that, you certainly know from your other work at the university that there are these, enormous categories of information that you can do like a point, it's not like you're doing points, it's just you're doing like this category or that category for response. So I want to thank everyone, for filling this out. So the comments that I sort of pulled out from there, for plans, procedures, and routines, procedures are changed as needed to address such issues. Polling parents and staff is a welcome development. A few people, I think, mentioned that, or maybe a couple of people. I think the polls were really successful in terms of the responses. The student support poll that was querying the art and music teachers is the one that really sticks with me. But then the other polls having to do with choosing vacation time as we survived this intense winter.
People are really happy about this week, by the way.
Yeah, I think we have a superintendent who finger on the pulse, ear to the ground, and then immediately taking action. So this is a dither-free zone, from what I can tell. Andre does, right? It's immediate responsiveness.
Yeah, you are a very responsive person. It's really incredible.
Human resources management. Here's a comment. Many great administrators in this district. I like that. Many great administrators in this district. And then we go
Probably
on.
worth noting, significantly fewer administrators in district than many years ago as well.
This is true. Yeah, that is very true. Okay. The let's see, time for teaching and learning. I'm trying to coordinate a couple of different pieces of information here. Time for collaboration. Yeah, so many collaborations with Fitchburg State, Mount Wachusett, every cultural and social organization in the region. I swear, I look at every single cultural organization. I mean, you're a Rotarian, we interact with the Historical Society, we have this great, official collaboration with the Fitchburg Art Museum. We work with Mock, we work with Luck, we work with, our schools, our guidance counselors work with everyone. We are connected to everyone and everything. I don't know if that's true of other schools of other districts, but that's pretty remarkable to have that level, and not only just superficial, like someone's on a letterhead, but it is actual creative, collaborative correspondence that is active and lively. Other time for collaboration comment was learning walks and administrators' bi-weekly meetings, which you keep us out of, I hasten to add, which is great. It's like we get to hear about what happens in the administrator meetings, and it's all this positive stuff, because I think Andre allows administrators feel like that there's a safe space where there's experimentation, but that there's also reflecting, like to allow time to reflect. Anyone have anything else to add, or? So this was a please.
As a teacher, you don't always end up feeling warm and fuzzy to administrators, so I could sometimes you do. But I have to say this team that you've put together is impressive, and I think in other districts, people can feel like administrators aren't pulling their weight, or you mentioned, Mayor, more administrators in the past than there are right now, and I don't really see a harder working group of people. So, that's an impressive accomplishment, I think, set by you. So that's a great working team that you've assembled, and it really works hard in this district.
The management and operations, we had proficient scores were 25, exemplary were 45, so the total score for that would be exemplary. So, and we'll move on to family and community engagement. So this seemed to me to be the trickiest category to evaluate, because it requires that we know everything that the schools are doing on every possible level, like on the web page and on the ConnectEd. Some people probably don't get the ConnectEd. I get the ConnectEd because I have children in school, and I see how detailed Matt, Jean, also, you hear like all of the many things that are happening in our own child's school. So the family and community engagement piece, we have, let's see, all right, that would be 3C. So we have families are notified of and invited to many activities. The indicator being actively ensures that all families are welcome members of the classroom and school community and contribute to the classroom, school, district, and community. And then also community business engagement programs with the community colleges and the gala. I think I mentioned the gala. I think one other of us mentioned the gala. And that is something, again, that we need to take into account. We did not have a gala last year. It didn't exist. It wasn't even a glimmer last year. But we had this massive event, which Andre's administrative assistant, Patty, was she was the captain, one of the captains of the ship. And a lot of people put in a lot of extra time to make that happen, to generate that, generate that goodwill, first of all, but then also to generate that, really, really nice amount of funding that is going to help support after-school programming. So I really hope that all of us, do take into account, some of those bigger pieces, because that is not happening in other districts, I can tell you. I have friends, I have family in other districts, and it's not the same. One comment was, Andre is a superb communicator and returns phone calls immediately, which is more than what any other person I know does. Given the number of calls upon his time, his ability to be in touch with us, the schools, the community, etc., we are incredibly fortunate. I mean, consider that.
We've appreciated you learning how to text too. We can reach you during meetings.
So let's see. Sharing responsibility. One comment we got was, this is student support. This is difficult to do, though messages are there. I wasn't sure about that. And then another family collaboration comment was, math race was a great example, but it doesn't happen for all students. I'm not sure how to read that. I mean, the math race was phenomenally well attended. We didn't do that last year. That was new, right? Yeah, and the same thing with our.
This is new this year, yeah.
Yeah, new this year.
We've done other kinds of things, and this is the first time that it's been brought together in that kind of a large venue.
Right.
For everybody. But it's definitely something that's going to grow.
Oh, I think I was at Rheingold and I was hearing teachers talking about it and how there was this huge buy-in from parents, and hearing in the cafeteria as well. I just remember when being elected whatever years ago it was, and just how do you get parents to school? Well, you have their children achieve something. If parents will come to see children achieve something, children do something. The kids in the musical, I look at the musical as this other huge plus because we engaged middle school students. I mean, we went from a very small, like Greece 3 years ago, to this, Florence Ziegfeld, size carnival of dozens of kids.
So the math race, it's in its first year. I heard amazing feedback from parents and grandparents over this weekend, and we've had the relay races in the city for, I think, over 100 years now, and that has amazing attendance. But the fact that this was an indoor math event, and we had, 500 total people come and pack an auditorium, that's pretty amazing. And then to get feedback all weekend, including at the Italian festival.
Right.
I think that was pretty indicative. I mean, usually I have people coming up to me about potholes, but more people have been coming up to me about those various events.
Let's discuss that next.
I was going to say, I forced my daughter to go to the math race with me because she's a reluctant kid on those kinds of things, which is frustrating. Hope she's not watching. I'm sure she's in bed. But we went, and I think she was shocked. She said, "Wow, they're definitely having fun." And she realized, oh, that friend does it, and that friend does it, and that friend does it. So it was kind of a fun moment for me. But I think what hit me as I looked around before we kind of went off to our next activity was just how many parents were there, and they were really riveted to. And everybody was talking about it. Oh, they're what are they doing there? Or, and it just hit me that this is this captive group, and people are really hungering for that kind of intellectual pursuit, I think. So it was pretty impressive to see that many people out there.
Can I just say that I haven't been on the school committee very long, but since I've been here, I mean, I don't have children in the school system, so all of these things, it is just so impressive to me that there's so much available, and the wide variety of opportunities for children in the Fitchburg school system to participate, not only academically, but physically, musically, in the theater. There's so much available to kids in the school system, and it's just amazing to me. And I think the fact that at all of the meetings, it just seems to me that the perspective is, what is good for, what can we do that's good for our students? And I think that pervades all of the meetings that I've been to.
Thank you. Yep, that's absolutely true. But again, it's the connections to the community that are, I mean, that's a whole, like, 25% of this evaluation that we're suggested to do. The family concerns, here's a comment about, let's see, Superintendent Ravenel effectively deployed surveys this spring to gauge community appetites for means of making up school days lost to inclement weather, for example, and is accessible to families who have brought forward concerns. I would like to see continued use of surveys for other topics of interest to the school community, and I know that will be a topic of review during our summer retreat. So this is good. Every year the evaluation, it's a gigantic project, but it's great when you come across ideas that we can use to move forward. So that it seemed that we did that Andre did more surveys this year, and that we learned more. We learned more from that. The family and community engagement proficient scores were 24 and exemplary scores were 25, and I sort of felt, and I'll be very, very frank with everyone here, I felt that, especially given the given all that we're doing with the families, I really thought those should have been much. I think, again, I would have thought those would have been much higher. That to me it's exemplary right across the board. I had no problem saying, hey, this is all exemplary. This is all, especially. I mean, maybe it's because I have a perspective that goes back a few years, and I remember the dire straits we were in 7 years ago when we were looking at like 40 teachers being cut. It was a very different scenario before Mayor Lisa Wong was elected. And Andre Ravenel was here at that point, you were newly here pretty much, but everything's been moving forward so much, so.
Let me make a comment on this,
Sure.
on this particular one. So it's easy for us to quantify the raising of the bar when it comes to academic achievement for our kids and the programs that we offer. The family and community engagement piece is really hard to concretely identify, but it is one where the more we've done. So if we were judging this by last year's standards, it would be exemplary across the board. But the thing is, and I would say the superintendent takes his lead, is he pushes all of us to raise the bar again. And raise the bar again. So I don't necessarily think this is a category in which we want it to always be exemplary, because we know that we have a population where, frankly, I mean, what is exemplary? I don't think we can reach perfection, really, because there's always something to do. So I think this is more a reflection of the fact that we have pushed the bar. Like, for example, we're looking at a Footsteps to Brilliance project where we're trying to reach students before they're even school age. We're trying to deal with language barriers across multi-generations. I mean, this is not necessarily a school thing. This is above and beyond. This is pretty amazing, right? So now we've set the bar even higher for next year, and then higher again for the following year. And I think we're all up to the challenge.
I think the other language about that's difficult is the two-way idea. I think it's really difficult to figure out how you get meaningful two-way communication. So it's great to send out the messages, the Connect Ed messages, and I mean, that's really wonderful. But how do you hear the voices of parents? So the surveys are good, but it's going to be a click, right? So it's not that somebody's really engaging in a deep conversation about what they want to see. But I think that's real, as you said, it's a really hard thing to achieve. And, I think that'll be a interesting conversation through the summer retreat about other innovative ways to kind of do that. But I think that part of it is that language about this two-way nature.
Like the X2 software is amazing, but I'm still surprised by even how many folks I know forget about it. Sort of complain they don't know, but they literally have the ability at their fingertips to find out the information they need. And I think we have to discuss. So we've provided the technology and the means, but what else do we need to do?
Right, that culture piece.
And I know that we've talked about the staff having professional development so they know how to utilize the program and make it available, but do we need that kind of professional development for parents and family?
I think that I certainly know that, like, on the social media end of things, like the Facebook, the Fitchburg Public Schools First Facebook page, we have many, many hundreds of people who chime in, and sometimes it feels like only a few of us post pictures or post, items or post news. And I think kind of, ramping that up, Facebook stuff is only as good as the folks who are overseeing it. So you can have, rabble-rousing and craziness, and then you can have highly competent and informative, measured commentary. It just, it changes. It's like it's the Cracker Barrel in the village store, basically. All right, so, but the total score on that was exemplary. And then we move on to professional culture, which is promote success for all students by nurturing and sustaining a school culture of reflective practice, high expectations, and continuous learning for staff. And those are big categories, and those have, big budget implications, and those have enormous time implications as well. So some of the comments there were the commitment to high standards. This is a constant message of the district. Let's see, continuous learning administrator, exemplary. Andre is president of Mass Association of School Superintendents Continuously Learning. And I hasten to remind everyone who's watching, the Mass Association of School Superintendents, Andre has served as an officer for the last 3 years and will be spending the next year as the president. So that's amazing opportunity for, again, we get to reflect in that as well. I don't know what other higher learning there would be for superintendents. Is there like national level superintendent activity?
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming there would be.
Yes.
But this
I have
is
no aspirations for. I'm perfectly content with the local level.
Well, the local level is where everything happens, and I think. Also, let's see.
We have enough students going to national and international conferences.
Yeah,
So
what's with that? Let them go.
Let's see. Yes, Andre puts his heart and soul into using the urban superintendent group and the Mass group as sounding boards. His ability to continue to develop and gather knowledge moving forward is remarkable. I really like that I can call the superintendent and have a query about something, and he can talk to a whole bunch of people in a similar situation, gateway cities or not, who have other experience and data to share. That's a huge resource, and I speak as a retired journalist because having that research is key for for the part of the decision making process. Let's see. Continuous, I'm kind of jumping around here, but I like this, they ask about continuous learning of staff. So one of the comments that came in was, so many staff can talk about data and the implications of it. I've heard staff talk about data. I've heard people who are teachers and friends who are teachers talk about learning about data. And I just think, wow, this didn't happen not that many years ago. I never heard those kinds of conversations. Or maybe those conversations were happening at a higher level, but to hear teachers talk about it, and again, to see data walls. Anyway.
Yeah, it's not just talking about it, it's talking about it in a professional and productive way. Because frankly, this professional culture is probably the area that deviates wildly among school districts.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how, when you begin to hear stories, and I think it permeates in a two-way between the administration and the school committee, where there's established a professional respect so that you can actually bring up and work through difficult issues. Right, so it's not professional where we all are standoffish and everything is black and white, and but I think we've created an environment in which, because of the professionalism, we can deal with a difficult circumstance or environment or issue when it comes across, and that's pretty substantial. And then in terms of things like the data walls, those are things that I think we're all trying to implement, but I've seen that go really badly, something that seems pretty innocuous go pretty badly in other places because that professional climate doesn't exist.
The final score for that was exemplary. So for those of you who are just tuning in, the school committee gave the superintendent an exemplary score in the evaluation, and I think, you know, we're.
And set the bar higher for next year.
We've set the bar higher for next year. So, final comments on the professional culture. Superintendent Ravenel has articulated his vision for the district, his expectations of administrators. By rotating cabinet meetings between school buildings, effective practices can be shared between facilities. In the year ahead, the superintendent should continue to highlight effective practices at individual sites and encourage their replication at other buildings. And I think, you know, replication sometimes is not easy because it's a superb teacher at one place or an innovative instructor at one place, and how do you transfer that to another building? How do you quantify it? But I want to remind everyone that, you know, we've been talking in student support about local history and having that piece, and we have now in the elementary school a local history component to our ELA class, and it's not just in Rheingold, my children's school, I believe it's in all of our schools. We have local history. So that came out of student support. Anyway, further comments for our exemplary superintendent?
Exemplary superintendent has exemplary assistant superintendents next to him.
Pittsburgh State and the city. So there are a lot of moving parts that we're still trying to refine, because we're going over, and one of the things that Bob's had to do is go back and look over 3 different agreements. So we're almost there, but there's still some work that needs to be done. So we're in a little bit of a dilemma, because we were hoping to bring it to you tonight to get, you know, a final vote on it, on the final agreement, and yet, you know, I don't think we feel comfortable yet that we've refined, you know, the language and some of the aspects of it. So there's a part of me that would like to get your approval of it and get some flexibility, but if that's not the case, then maybe we've got to do something different. Bob, I don't know what you want to add to that.
Think, you know, it's still in the stages of being worked on. I think at this point I'd recommend that we table it right now and come back for the next meeting, or if there's another special meeting before the end of the year, we'll have it for then.
I would, especially in light of.
Because we just want to make sure that this is an opportunity. We're kind of looking at everything and looking at the words. We've got a new president of the university coming in. It's solid, so I don't want to give anybody impression that it's anything but we just want to make sure that if we're taking something that's been done 3 times and we're doing it over, and this is going to have a lasting shelf life, we really want to make sure it's the right thing. So if it's okay with you, we'd like to table it and bring it back either to the retreat for an action item or a special meeting.
Yeah. Okay. Roanne, are you here for anything in particular?
No.
Okay. So anyone in the public would like to say anything before we break out?
Well, just because I could go home, just to review the grant page.
Okay.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Are there any questions? Because I know that's up for an action.
So the extended day, it's just a renewal of something that we've done before. The same thing with 21st Century, promoting health in school. Those are all things that we've done before. Those are being submitted. The Title I, Title IIA, all of these are, you know, nothing new and different there.
But did any of them go up or down significantly due to funding?
We don't have any of the allocations, so these numbers, the most they can go down is 5%. The federal grants are at a 95% hold harmless level. So these numbers represent 95%. We just went to a workshop on the federal grants about a week ago, and they're anticipating mid-July when we would get, as the date when we'd get our allocations. The programs haven't changed, the rules about the programs haven't changed substantially, so we'd still be following pretty much the same structure. It's primarily staff, supplement, not supplant. Rules are the same, procurement's the same, what you can buy is the same, what you can spend
This is an
money on.
update that I'm passing around to the one you had.
Okay. But these are hopefully we'll have 100% funding, so there'll be a little more than that.
Could be 5% more.
Yes. Yep.
And the STEM equipment, you've already seen that. It's just accepting it at this point. That's the work that's going to be, most of that work's going to be done over the summer. And then the Project Red is something that we've done in the past also. So nothing really new or different here.
Okay. Can we just quickly go through donations and school choice, or do you want to wait on that?
What's that?
Do we want to wait on donations and school choice?
We can do that also, get that done, so then when you come back, you can just go through the votes. A donation of $70 value, donated goods.
Can we say that
Which is-
$70 is a donation from a Rheingold student? This is
Yes.
an elementary school
Jack
student.
Crook, a child
Who's
of one of our
donating his
teachers.
birthday money. That is
so cool.
absolutely wonderful.
That's sure in line with what we've been talking about tonight.
Yep.
So, and wish we could put this up, incredibly cute picture of Jack here, so I don't know if the cameraman up there somewhere can focus on that, but, thank you, Jack, really exciting. And then, Miss Pat Cochran, sorted school supplies, pencils, notebooks, scissors, and that was $75,000 donation. And we-
$75.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. What did I say?
75,000.
Well, I'm thinking big numbers. I'm thinking big numbers. And you caught it this late in the evening. So then, those are the donations and school choice funds. Bob, do you want to just mention those?
Chromebooks. Again, continuing to invest in technology for the honors, or the freshman academy, and replenish some units for loaners and for sophomore and junior classes as well. So action
Okay.
item 564.
All right, so we are, I need a motion and a second to go into executive session for the
Make a
purpose of
motion to go in.
negotiations.
Can I make another motion?
Yep.
Can we make a motion to go over all the action items, go into executive session and come up with a purpose of
Adjournment?
adjournment? Can we do that?
Want to add action items?
You may
Do the
have an
action
action
items
item.
first.
Yeah, do the action items first, and
And
then
then
go
go
into
in, and
executive
then
session.
Huh?
Yeah, we can certainly go through the action items right now before we go into executive session. I think, yeah, executive session. So we're skipping over the first one. All right, so the PE waiver, then, 558.
Make a
So-
motion, we do it.
Second.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Holding 560. Is there a
Yes.
motion?
Yeah, motion.
Holding 560.
Second.
Do Matt and Beth have to recuse?
I was gonna ask if I should,
I don't know.
because it's,
Oh, yeah, that might be.
I think we might
That's
want
the
to,
big K.
you'll recuse from
Yeah.
holding, and then we'll figure it out if you can vote.
That's
I'll
right,
find,
okay,
I'll find
so,
out officially
um,
if we need to.
You made a
because of
motion to
votes.
hold. Is there a second over here?
Yeah.
All in favor of holding, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 561, Jack Crooks, $70.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. $75 from Ms. Pat Cochran.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 563, submitting ELT and other grants.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 564, these are school choice funds.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 565, more grants.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Accepting the Project Bread grant.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And then dead warrant 1.
Pay the bills.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, can I get a motion and a second to go into executive session? The purpose of negotiation only to come up for the purposes of adjournment.
So moved.
Okay, roll call vote. Beth?
To go into executive
Yes.
session.
Or Marisa?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Pete?
Yes.
Yes, Sally?
Yep.
Jean?
Yes.
Okay.
No, they're for Mr. Cosenza.
Oh, okay. They disappeared.
The,
Softball's in the donut bag.